Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you.
of course. No, I can hang out a little more. Just to make sure. Okay. Let's see, Kevin. Okay, it is 6:55. We will go back into public session. Can I have a motion in a second to go back into public session?
I motion to return in public session.
Okay.
Ms. Carlisle,
Yes.
Ms. Crenshaw,
Yes.
Ms. Llewellyn,
Yes.
Mr. Gerbach,
Yes.
Ms. Iwamoto,
Yes.
Mr. Tarakia.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes from the January 19th, 2021. Any corrections or additions that anyone saw? I have a motion to approve.
I'll
I'll
motion.
motion. I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? Okay, our safety and security update. Kim, do you want to introduce Kevin to?
Absolutely. For those of you who don't know, Kevin Knuckles has joined us, and Kevin, why don't you wave your hand? He is going to be available to answer any questions that you have from the 2020 annual Safety and Security Services report. So you received this report 2 weeks ago at the board committee meetings, but the board indicated that they'd like to have Kevin here to answer questions, to present his report. And for those of you who are newer to the board, typically Kevin would appear at the January or February meeting in person to do this, but of course we can't do that now. So Kevin, would you just briefly review your report, and then whomever has a question can just go ahead and ask Kevin directly.
Kevin?
Kevin, I think you're muted.
Oh, can you hear me? I might need to plug in a headset.
No, you're good now.
Oh, we can
We
hear
got
Oh,
you.
you hear me? Okay. Yeah, as I was saying, in the last year, obviously we haven't done anything that would be directly related to safety or security in the conventional sense. What I've been doing for the most part, my guys have been working the branch security, but what we've been doing is working on building up our COVID supplies. We have a pretty good stockpile of everything, and last week we received 3,000 KN95 masks for staff. These are single use, so 3,000, which sounds like a lot, when you're breaking them up between 150 people over the next few months, really won't be that many masks. We got several thousand pairs of nitrile gloves, cleaning supplies, hand sanitizer, pretty much every, between Tim and me, we got visors, goggles, and plexiglass workstations. So we're prepared as you can get for something that you don't know everything about.
Kevin has been really helpful this year with all of our COVID pivoting, from measuring out how many people we can accommodate in a room to helping with curbside. And I don't think we ever quite utilize all the skills you have, Kevin, but while he's worked for us, he got his master's degree. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, that was 2 years ago.
Right, but while being at the library,
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said.
yeah, I'm trying to brag on you a little. So anyway, he helps Lori and I often with, all sorts of safety and health related issues. So, Kevin has really proven how much value he brings to the library this year. Been amazing. Any other questions? Hi, Pat.
Yeah, I have a question, of course.
Yes,
How you doing, Kevin?
I'm good.
Good. We very much appreciate you, both in that
Thank you.
crazy pandemic year and in you showing up today. One of my questions is, we don't exactly know how the return and whatever we were going to consider normalcy now, but what are you doing to be prepared for what we might anticipate maybe one of the main challenges, which is people won't want to wear masks when they come.
Well,
So I'd like to know what you're doing to address that kind of ahead of time and have your staff
Well-
be prepared so that our actual library staff is at risk less and less, and our patrons.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I started preparing a training about 10 days, 2 weeks ago on workplace violence. And there's going to be a section of that that deals with specifically interactions between staff and patrons over the use of PPE and social distancing. I got a seminar next Thursday that I'm gonna be at, that a Zoom that's gonna go into this subject a lot more as it relates directly to libraries, some strategies that are being used. Of course, you got the legal recourse of, we ask you to do something within our building. If you don't comply, we can have you removed as a trespasser. But that's more of a last resort, even though it's a tool that we have at our disposal. What we found the last time we opened, there were very few people that weren't willing to comply. And the few that were willing weren't willing to comply, after they realized that they were not going to be allowed to stay and receive any service, they would either comply or do curbside. And we're going to be, and double check on that, Nancy, curbside is still going to be available for people
Yes.
who
Yes.
either can't comply due to some medical reason or won't comply, like we've had those couple of people in the past who just flat out refused to comply. And for those who want to comply and just happen to show up without a mask, not of the KN95 more expensive ones, but we got about 2,000 of your, nobody has on one that I can see, and I don't have one handy here, of the
Standard
lower
blue ones?
FFP2 style mask, the 3-plies.
Okay, sounds good.
I
So
hope somewhere in all of that I answered your question.
no, it did, and I appreciate
Okay.
that. And
Okay.
I like hearing that you're having. I love training. So
Mm.
yeah, I like hearing that. My follow-up question is, do we have postings at all our doors that express that?
Yes.
All
Not
right.
only do we have posters at the doors, we have Victor Semperman, who works for Cheryl Banks, and they made these, I don't know, they're about 3 feet tall, folding stand-up plastic signs that sit outside at every location, front and back doors. So there is no, I believe at the entrance of all of the parking lots, there's also signage. So there isn't much reason to show up without one, unless, of course, like I say, oftentimes people come to the library that don't know how to read.
Mm. Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
And last, and then anyone else that has a question, is there any way you could forward us some of the material just so we could be familiar with it? Because I'm
Sure.
only asking, Kevin, not because I don't think you're totally capable, and of course you've done a good job before the pandemic, and I anticipate you'll do the same after. But I think that's in this year coming forth in the political temperature, et cetera. If we have major problems during 2021, at some point, I would anticipate from what we're seeing elsewhere that it may become an amplified temperature, and we may have people that feel the need. And I just like to, be
And when you
informed.
say materials, when you ask for materials, which materials are you speaking of?
Maybe like what you just said when you're training your staff.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
That.
Once that's finished, I'll have a copy sent through Kim or Nancy to you guys.
Perfect. Yeah,
we
just
can
so we
just
can,
forward it
just so
on.
we can be informed as board members, because
Sure.
I don't know if anyone else
Absolutely.
feels that, but as we go forward in these weeks and months, that's where I feel when we reopen, we certainly all believe we'll be reopening soon, right? That's going to be one of the main challenges.
Tomorrow,
Tomorrow.
Yeah, can't get much sooner than that. Tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Oh, tomorrow. I'm all uninformed. Yeah, I forgot those dates.
assuming we don't get snowed out.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also heard you, we're not getting that much of it, but I do think we will. You know what I mean? When there's not too much of it going on, but it may be, coming.
It's going to pick up overnight.
Yeah. So thank you. We appreciate it. Anybody else have questions?
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay. All right.
Thanks very much.
Kevin.
The next item is a resolution for recognition of retirement, and I think Ms. De Niro Ackroyd would like to read the resolution.
Absolutely. It is my great privilege to read the resolution, the recognition of retirement for Pat Gray, the Coventry branch manager. Whereas on November 14th, 2005, Pat Gray joined the staff of the Cleveland Heights University Heights Public Library as the Coventry Village branch manager. And whereas Pat, who has provided excellent customer service to our customers and staff for 15 years and almost 4 months, will retire on March 6th, 2021. And whereas she will be remembered for her active participation to improve the Coventry Gardens and landscaping, as well as the Peace Park. And whereas Pat championed the renovation of the children's room to become the Shire. And whereas Coventry became our training location where all library staff received mentoring and skill training. And whereas Coventry has hosted several successful program series, such as Tai Chi, Step Out of Time, and the Cleveland Institute of Music concerts, as well as hosted the library's centennial event in 2016. And whereas Pat was responsible for collection development, keeping the library collections current and comprehensive, while also expanding the deaf collections and programming. And whereas she partnered with Max Bax to host the local author series and to develop that collection. And whereas Pat also served the community on the Coventry Special Improvement District Committee, the Heights Rights Committee of Heights Arts, was a longtime judge of the Roxborough Spelling Bee. And whereas she has been supportive of the Fund for the Future of Heights Libraries with her work on a fundraiser, as well as nominating 2 eventual award winners of the Opening Doors, Opening Minds Awards. And whereas she will always be remembered for her deep empathy and support that has been a source of comfort, warmth, and encouragement to many employees. And whereas her steadfast commitment to the library's positive image, her wisdom and dedication will be sorely missed. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this resolution upon her retirement be approved by the Board of Trustees and spread upon the minutes.
I have a motion. And a second. Approve.
I'll motion.
Second.
Second.
Yay.
Any further comments from anyone?
Pat, we will miss you so very much, but we know
May
you're
I
not
say-
going anywhere.
May I say yes, I hope to be back to help with some projects as a citizen rather than an employee. I just want to say that thank you, Kim, for Those wonderful, that it's fun to think back on some of the things that we've done at Coventry and that we've done in the library. And I too will be really, really sad to leave. I am not one of those people who's jumping around saying, oh, the last day is coming. Saying, oh, the last day is coming. But I'd also like to say that while I really appreciate that list of achievements, at the library, everything we do as partners. So the administrative staff, Nancy, Deb, especially Kim, who takes care of us managers as public service managers, a wonderful management team who are smart and vibrant and energetic, and incredible staff. I mean, I have had the best staff in the world at Coventry. We do all these things together. So these are their achievements as much as mine. And thank you. Thank you for the chance to have this wonderful job. I've loved every minute. Well, almost every minute.
We can laugh about those things too.
Yes. Together.
Okay.
If there's no further comments, all those in favor? Or did somebody want to?
We appreciate your service, Pat. That was my home branch. I love that branch. I've been going there since the 70s when it was on the other end of the building before they moved it around to the front on that last remodel. And so we appreciate your service and dedication. And I'm sure the patrons in that neighborhood will miss you. And we like to thank you.
And I so appreciate all of your service and dedication. This is a labor of love.
All those in favor of approving the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Pat, you'll get a hard copy that is signed as soon as I can track data down and we can get it to you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So I guess I should log off now. I know you've had a long meeting. Thank you all for your time and attention. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you, Pat.
how do I
Bye.
get- I have my agenda here. How do I get it?
Share screen. It's in the 3 dots.
Oh, over here.
Oh, no, in the green, in the green.
Okay.
Did you hit it?
Yeah.
Okay. Hit share.
Can everyone see the agenda packet?
Yep.
Bear with me. I'd asked Nancy to come in here in case I mess up on this. Oops.
Go down.
I want to review some charts that I did for fiscal year end to show you how we've weathered the financial storm, and technically we weathered it quite well. This pie chart shows our revenue for 2020, and as you can see, 66% of it came from the local property taxes paid, 23% was the state public library fund, and 7% is what the state pays in our reimbursements. We received $11,931,000. That is 1% higher than in 2019. So we did not really suffer through increased delinquencies in property taxes, and our public library fund money did fairly well. So our revenue is 1% higher than 19. Two other factors that played into a good financial position is usually we pay about $40,000 a year in unemployment premium or workers' comp premiums. And I think if you followed any of the press conferences from the governor, they've been giving back money to local governments, and we got back $178,000 in additional revenue last year from the Bureau of Workers' Comp. So that certainly made up for losses in copier revenues and passports and things like that. And then the other area where we made up money was on unemployment. We paid unemployment for our people that were on layoff in Sherbrooke, Ohio from June through September, and we paid almost $97,000 for that, and the state ended up giving us a credit, and we haven't paid anything since August, and as of 12/30, we had a credit with the Bureau of Unemployment of $99,000, so I don't anticipate that we'll have to pay any unemployment once we bring back people within the next month or so. The next slide shows the property taxes, state reimbursement, and public library fund, and the taxes were $274,000 higher than last year, and actually our PLF was $5,000 lower than last year. So that really wasn't the tsunami that we were expecting because of it. COVID. The next slide shows what I call our minor revenue, and these are the largest revenues that we bring in other than our taxes and PLF. And as you can see, unfortunately, with the way the economy is going, the one thing that really did hit us was a decrease in investment income. Our passport money is down $34,000 from 19 to 20. And our copier money is down from $34,000 from 19 to 20. And both of those are because we've had to shut down and not have people in the building to get those services. And we're hoping that those things will start rebounding within the next month or so. The next slide is a pie chart of our expenditures. And last year we only spent $8,151,000, and the last time we spent that little was in 2013. We started the year with over $11 million appropriated. And as you know, we cut library materials, we cut, so many different things and all of that. And with between staff and purchase services and materials, that our expenditures were down 40% between 19 and 20. And the majority of that was not having the staff here when we were closed, but our staff did not suffer because of the fact, well, when we reduced them and put people on Shared Work Ohio, we paid them for 20 hours and the state paid them for 20 hours. And during the course of the summer when we were using Shared Work Ohio, I saw a lot of email correspondence from a lot of libraries that laid off staff or just reduced them to 20 hours, and they didn't want to be bothered by Shared Work Ohio. They thought it was too much of a hassle, and I just can't believe that other public entities would do that. And I commend Lori Murata for all the work she did, that the Shared Work Ohio and unemployment had to be filed could be filed on Sundays. And I know for at least 3 to 5 months, Lori was working every Sunday to transmit the information down to Columbus on a Sunday so people would get their unemployment and Shared Work Ohio promptly in that. If we go to the next slide, that shows all of the level of cuts. Our main areas are in salary and benefits, purchase services and materials. And the purchase services is the electric, the gas, paying CleanNet, paying for our contracted cleaners and that. And you can see that they're all down from last year. Our salaries and benefits went from $6.122 million in 19 down to $5.3 million in 20. So making those cuts really made a difference. And then the last slide is a line chart to show you. The green line is our receipts over that from 16 to 20, and then what our expenditures were. And both times when the expenditures exceeded the revenues, in 2016, we transferred $3.5 million of our cash balance from general fund into the building and repair fund. And then in 2019, I started that one because it was so large that at the end of the year, we transferred $4 million. And what we are excellent at working to keep our buildings in shape. And as we are discussing and making improvements at the Coventry building, we're doing surveys to look at what to do with Noble. We're in we dedicate a good sum of money every several years to deal with the maintenance needs that we have. And if we go to the next slide, at the end of If you look at on the bank summary, page 10, as of January 1st of 2020, we had $15 million in the bank. And at the end of the year, we had 18 million in the bank. And in the next slide, it shows that of that 13.4 million was in general fund. So we are in excellent financial position. Nancy and I have started working on a longer term 5-year forecast because of the building improvements that we're looking at. And I'm projecting bringing back all the staff. What I'm doing and making the estimates on staff and benefits is I'm taking the payroll from February before the pandemic, when we had all of our positions filled and everybody was full-time. And I'm adding the 3% raise that we granted to people in January and taking that forward, and then also figuring in increases in utilities and materials and things like that, bringing them back up to more normal levels starting in 2022. And I think I'm taking it through 26 or 27 to look at how much we could devote and transfer out for building improvements over the next 2 to 3 years of that. So that I'll probably have at the March meetings for you. There's a lot of financial reports because I didn't have December done by the January meeting. And that's why I did all those extra graphs. And then I have January in there too. Are there any questions that anybody has or on any of the financials? Okay, can I entertain a motion to approve the financial investment reports for December and January?
A motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? The next item is a resolution to approve a change in the building operation hours. Nancy, do you want to go through that one with them?
Sure. So
26.
we have been working behind the scenes to get ourselves open again. A combination of the COVID infection rate going down and the fact that the schools are going to be reopening somewhat, and that we have been slowly trying to fill many open positions so that we can be staffed and ready to have visitors again. All of those 3 things are coming together, and we will be, assuming we don't have a snowstorm, we will be opening tomorrow at 9 a.m. for browsing, for computer appointments, for reference services. But we did remove, like we did before, the chairs and tables. So we're not encouraging people to linger longer than they need to. They can come in and get their things and say hello or ask a question, and then we would like them to hurry on home and make room for other people. We hope that our capacity will never be more than 25% of what it normally is, but we're not going to be counting heads per se. We're just gonna eyeball it because people move. So it's we don't want to be irrational about having people in the building. We very much want people back in to get their needs met and also just to see us, and we miss them very, very much. So we did add Sundays back from 1 to 5 like we used to be. But our branches all now have the same hours, and they will be remaining this way for quite a while until we can get the COVID, hopefully get people vaccinated and get things open all the way.
And the last sentence of the resolution, page 26, is a little nebulous because we had curbside until 5, even on the days we were open until 9. And now that the sunset is at 6 o'clock, we're stating that we'll extend it till 6 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we'll continue to extend those hours as sunset gets later and later. So if we're not open 9 to 9 in May and the sun sets at 7 o'clock, then we're keeping this a little nebulous so we could extend curbside hours during that period of time, but it would only be on the days that we have the library itself open past 5 o'clock.
Certainly our goal is to get back open all the way back to where we were. Or beyond.
Any questions or comments?
Very good.
Motion,
I'll motion.
got a second?
A second.
I'll second.
I heard Mr. Toracchio first. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The next item is an increase in the permanent appropriation for this current fiscal year. As I mentioned at the committee meetings, I had a typo in the budget line item for non-ClearNet databases, which is for other softwares that we use, and I need to change that from 65,000 to 75,000. And then we'd also like to increase the building and repair fund by $1 million. There is $3 million in cash in that fund right now. With the 906,000, we'd like to make it 1,906,000. So once we start rolling on the Coventry HVAC project, we'll just have to be approving the architect and the contract, and that I won't need to amend the budget because that total project is anticipated to be less than $500,000. Any questions? Do I have a motion and a second?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Carlisle,
Yes.
Ms. Crenshaw,
Yes.
Ms. Llewellyn,
Yes.
Mr. Burbach,
Yes.
Ms. Iwamoto,
Yes.
Mr. Toracchio.
Yes.
Ms. Levin, you want to give an update on the personnel?
Yes, as I mentioned, unfortunately, Lori had a death in the family last week, so I just gleaned this from what we knew. We did have one resignation. Our youth services librarian at Noble, Mary Luby, who is an excellent librarian, is moving out of town, so she did resign and she will be leaving us at the end of March. We did promote Maggie Kinney, who is a special projects manager, to be Pat's replacement at Coventry. So that's very nice to keep it in the family when we can do that. It's great. So she will be joining us on AST, just moving her chair, basically. And then we filled 2 technology assistants in January and February. We are currently in the process of filling youth services associates, deputy fiscal officer, circulation assistants, and we are pulling back pages as we can by seniority. So there's a lot of hiring going on, very bustly up here in the admin office. Between that and handling different COVID issues, never a dull moment. And then in the next few weeks, we will be posting 2 adult services associates, Maggie's job as special projects manager, the youth services librarian job at Noble, and one at Lee Road that has been on hold for a long time.
Almost a year.
Yeah, almost a year. And then some more security guards because we have a number of vacancies to fill. So again, we will be hiring a lot in the next few months and hopefully getting back to full staff.
Any questions? The next is a resolution for the 2021 salaries of the director and the fiscal officer. Ms. Iwamoto, do you want to chime in and review and explain what the changes will be for that?
Sure. I'll start out by saying that as a board member, I just want to commend Debbie and Nancy on their professionalism, hard work, and dedication throughout the pandemic. Know that this has been a challenging year for all of us, and they've demonstrated great leadership in stewarding the library through pivots in service delivery while also not losing sight on other strategic and long-term goals. The resolution that I'm presenting here states that we completed a process of our performance evaluation, and Debbie and Nancy both knowingly, we know that they gave up their 2020 salary increases when the library chose to make financial adjustments due to the pandemic. And so for 2021, we would like to restore the 3% increase as stated in this resolution. It will be updated. But before we bring it forward, wanted to offer the floor to other board members who might want to offer comment about the performance.
I thought we did. Look, we got to do it publicly on the public end too, huh? Oh boy, we're getting a little tired, but yeah, we just chime in where Annette did. You know, we felt that the leadership skills and all that practice you get before you're in a pandemic, that, you know, it truly showed in the year of 2020. We so appreciate Debbie and Nancy, your professionalism, as she said, the stewardship, you know, seeing some of the foreseeable things because you are so in the know. Everything, you know, it made us comfortable as the board members. It allowed us to continue to offer the services. And in my personal opinion, I try and keep my fillers out in the community. I think it brought some confidence to the Cleveland Heights University Heights community in general. Because if we look around, you know, the United States, and some places were failing and just to have this anchor that, okay, they're figuring out how to stay open, how to continue to offer services. Yeah, it wasn't physically open, but I'm just saying to say that, you know, we were still doing things and being that much more prepared when we are tomorrow able to return to more normalcy, not exactly, but more. So we just want to commend you guys, and we, you know, just like it to be duly noted how promptly you returned your increases so that everyone could, you know, be on better ground. And again, we feel it only fair to restore it, and thank you publicly for your good service.
Thank you.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
It's an honor to work here. Really is.
Yep, and to have such a good board.
Mhm.
Do I have a motion and a second to approve?
I will motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Second.
Ms. Carlisle,
Yes.
Ms. Crenshaw,
Yes.
Ms. Llewellyn,
Yes.
Mr. Gerbach,
Yes.
Ms. Iwamoto,
Yes.
Mr. Toracchio.
Yes.
The next item under the planning committee is the designation of a library board member to the Coventry Peace Board of Directors. And Mr. Gerbach has gallantly volunteered to serve in that capacity. And in his absence, we state that a member of the library administration could attend the meetings in his place. So if Mr. Gerbach's unable to attend, he just needs to let Nancy know, and then we'll figure out who could go in your stead. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I would just like to say I've had a number of calls from the press asking if the library supports what the Coventry Peace Campus Board is doing along with their fundraising and their activities, and we absolutely do. We wish them well. We realize that this is very necessary fundraising to make the building more useful and productive for their activities, and we do wish them well, and we will be helping them where we can.
Any other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The next resolution is approval of a contract with JMC Consulting Services. As you're aware, Ms. Pashon has helped us with securing the criteria engineer for the design of the HVAC system at Coventry. And we would like to continue with her in assisting us, because once that's done, we'll have to do an RFQ for an architect and select that. So we're recommending a contract for $15,000, and she would invoice us $3,000 a month to complete that contract. Any questions? I have a motion and a second.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Carlisle,
Yes.
Ms. Crenshaw,
yes,
Ms. Llewellyn,
Yes,
Mr. Gerbach,
Yes.
Ms. Iwamoto,
yes,
Mr. Toracchio.
Yes.
Do we have a Friends report to note?
Yes, the Friends are very excited that we are reopening tomorrow. They will be back in the bookshop, peddling their wares, and they will be going back to having First Friday sales where one can get a bag of books for $4. They have quite a backlog of books, so if you are interested in these things, come and get them. We'll be happy to help you in any way, and we do count on the Friends for lots of our programming support, so please support the Friends.
Ms.
We just got a new
Llewellyn,
bookshelf that has a lot of extra space, so I'm looking forward to
See,
it.
the one behind you with the library books is full, so
Those are just my library books that I have out, so.
you ought to get a book, use that bag of books for your new one.
I can recommend a lot of books for young people.
Ms. Llewellyn, do you have any president's report items you'd like to?
I do not. I do not.
You're spoken out.
That's
Okay.
it. That's a wrap.
I just want to point out a few things. I won't read the whole report, but we do want to thank publicly our interim managers, Sarah Rosenberger and Emil Wheatley, who took over for adult services and youth services in the last few months. They did a great job. It was a wonderful opportunity for them to get some experience being managers. And while they will be returning to their librarian posts, I foresee that they will be moving up in the world one day. And we have done quite a lot of work on installing touchless door openers and other touchless facilities in our buildings, and we're going to be doing more. I met with a group called Maximum Accessible Housing in Ohio, and they are helping us do an audit of our facilities for handicap accessibility and to help people who have who work out of a wheelchair or might use a cane. And they give us lots of good advice, and we will continue to work with them in the future. We are hiring, so if you have any friends that are looking for work, please send them to our website. And because we never lose sight of the fact that we are an anti-racist library, I do want to encourage people to sign up for the YWCA 21-day challenge in March. I did it last year, and you receive emails with different activities you can participate in, either reading or viewing a Zoom class or some other cultural activity. It was a great program, and I hope we'll all do it again this year. They are just amazing. It's one of the best institutions in town. I also have Cheryl's communications report, and obviously you probably received your spring check us out with a very hopeful message on the cover. She posted a number of our classes, and there's Bernie in front of the library. The government report was just that the PLF is in the budget that Governor DeWine presented last week. It is going to go from 1.7 to 1.66 by law, which isn't exactly a cut, it's just a reduction of the percentage of the general revenue fund. And from what we hear from our representatives, the general revenue fund will probably be lowered because of possible tax cuts. So it is possible that the library will be receiving quite a bit less money from the state in the next 2 years. So we will be lobbying our representatives to at least hold on to the amount we have, because we are helping with the digital divide, we're helping with employment, we're helping keep kids learning through the pandemic, and doing all the things that a library does. So One of the best things Ohio has going is its public libraries, and we want to make sure that those are maintained. And I think that's it.
Kim, you want to cover public service?
Yes, I have lots of reports for you tonight, starting with the 2020 Public Services Annual Report. And I am merely the compiler of this report. It was really written by the public service managers. So I want to publicly credit and thank, in alphabetical order, Chuck Collins, Constance Dickerson, Ty Emerson, Pat Gray, Heather Howeiler, Maggie Kinney, Sam Lapidus, and Sarah Phillips for doing all the work on this and every monthly report that they do. So this year's annual report is a little bit shorter than most years. For those of you who have been around for a while, you may have noticed that, simply because being closed for a while and the reduction in services, we just simply have less to report, unfortunately. So I've divided it out into the basic areas that you've seen in the past with some specific numbers. And then I also separated out numbers of data that we only have from January 2nd through March 13th, which was our last day before the closure. So things like meeting room reservations, media lab reservations, passport customers, we just didn't have them after March 13th, even when we reopened. So you can all look at this at your leisure. If you have any questions, please let me know. I did talk about borrowing updates, because one of the bright spots that we had is that we really added on to our supply of hotspots that circulated. And one of the best things that we did all year is that with that additional input of hotspots, we were able to loan out on a long-term loan 30 hotspots to the schools, and then they distributed to families who needed them the most. So the schools made the decision, but these are hotspots that are still on loan, and they went out at around the beginning of the school year back in September. So that we talk about. Homebound delivery numbers certainly increased in 2020. I reported on that. And then I do have a couple of pages of new services that we offered. Zoom, Facebook and Zoom story times, for instance. Lots of online programming is in here. Resource guides that our librarians put together for customers and gave out. Virtual summer reading, all kinds of things that you can take a look at. I want to be mindful of the time, but if anybody has a specific question, please let me know. Again, either tonight or you can always email me as well. We did talk about programming. Of course, those numbers are down. You're typically used to seeing much higher programming numbers. So those were down. There's also less under the staff development and training. Mostly that was done by webinar. Luckily, we were able to send a good number of people, including Nancy and myself, to PLA in February, which was kind of the last big thing before COVID really hit. So at least we were able to get that conference in before the closures. Then there are also a number of facility updates. Some of those are things that Kevin touched upon in his report, but others were projects that Tim Passberg and his staff undertook, anywhere from all of the plexiglass barriers that went up to, of course, the Black Excellence mural that was painted on the Coventry parking lot. We're happy to add that as well. And then finally, we ended with the list of our major community partners. It's certainly not inclusive of everybody that we partner with, but just those with whom we have really strong, enduring relationships and we do a lot with, such as the Cleveland Food Bank, the Institute of Music, the Museum of Art. So you can take a look at that list. Finally, we had very little to report as far as grants. So this year I renamed that as grants and partnership work. I talked a little bit about certainly the increase that we had with the mobile pantry. And I mean, that was really launched this year, and what a good time to do that. And remember, we launched that at Coventry, and it was so successful that after 3 or 4 months, we had to move it to Lee Road, where during the year 2020, we served almost 2,000 people. The final number in 2020 was 1974. So that was very big. And then I concluded with a couple of great statements from both Pat Gray and Sarah Phillips, who wrote in their annual reports about their pride in the work that the staff did. And I really wanted to include that. I have already shared this report with the entire staff. I did that last week when I was finished organizing it. So they've seen it, but it was really good of both of them to share how proud they are of our entire staff, not just public services staff, but everybody on staff. So
Can I interject that since I don't give you information for the public service report, we did get the $100,000 in the CARES Act grant that we've already spent down to zero as of the end of January. So that was another grant.
That's right. Okay, thank you for mentioning that, because I didn't have access to that information.
Yeah, I can give you that stuff.
Okay, moving on, I did a very simple 2 charts on 1 page about our physical versus digital circulation. So every month I give you a breakdown of the percentage of our physical circulation versus the different kinds of digital circulation that we have. So I put those numbers together. That report's on page 39 of the packet. The first chart is a graph, physical versus digital. You will see that physical, of course, really plummeted in April because we were closed that complete month. So it really plummeted. You'll see it looks like digital was pretty steady, but then I did a separate report at the bottom on digital circulation, so you can really see where it increased and how those numbers stayed pretty constant through the rest of the year. Any questions on any of these reports before I go into January? Okay, I know it's getting late, so I will move on to the January public service report. That's included. You can all take a look at that. So we're offering more and more virtual. We're certainly excited to open back up a little bit more so that we can have better numbers beginning in February, and hopefully by March we really see some stronger ones once we have a full month under our belt. But I've talked about what staff has done. In the January report, Ty reported what we physically circulated and that how high our numbers were in the FleetNet system. So that was something to take a look at. Everything else, I think, is just either planning or our virtual numbers. There are highlights that are in the report. I'll let you all take a look on your own. When we look at the circulation breakdown for January, again, we're seeing that streaming services and downloadables account for, now it's well over 20%. It was over 25% for the month of January. Overdrive is the majority of that. I've been reporting to you over the course of the last 6 months about the merger of RB Digital into Overdrive now that they're owned by the same company. What I believe will happen is that after March 31st, customers are not going to be able to access RB Digital content from the RB Digital links. They will have to exclusively go to Overdrive. So after March, beginning in April, I don't believe that RB digital line will be there anymore, just because of the way the merger's gone. So RB Digital content stats will be folded into Overdrive. So you'll probably see a little bump in Overdrive once that happens. Okay, any stats? I don't want to go too fast, but I do want to be mindful of the time. So circulation, of course, during the month of January, it's just like it's been for the last few months. There's no sense of even comparing it to last January because it would make all of us very sad. I mean, it's half of what it was last January. Same for visitor numbers, and visitor numbers are so low. And what we can't really stop are those people counters. So you say, you know, we didn't really have visitors, but how do we have a number? But it's us, it's staff, it's the contractors, the cleaners. If the board wants us to turn off the people counters, I think Nancy and I would have to talk to Matt Hoffman about how to do that. Because I know I don't know, I'd have to involve the professionals. And then the same for the meeting room usage, as Debbie shared with you every month. We don't have people in our meeting rooms, so there's nothing to report.
And that one I could see not putting in until we start opening meeting rooms because
Yeah.
there is no activity. So maybe we'll
Well,
just defer it until.
starting tomorrow, we could, well, right,
Yeah, we're
Meeting
not.
Debbie's talking about meeting rooms.
yeah.
Any questions about any reports? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
Anyone have any unfinished business to bring before the board? Any new business? It is 7:50. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. We are done. Thank you very much.
Right, it is blizzarding out there, so be careful if you have to go out.